In this quick start tutorial, we're going to cover starting a new scene, navigating in the editor space, and using the editor panel. Okay, let's select new scene, and then we have to choose a location. I'm going to choose the high-rise loft, and then I'm going to load the location. The first thing you'll notice is you're no longer represented as an avatar, and in fact, we're actually no body at all and floating freely in space. To move about, you can use your left and right thumbsticks. On your left hand, you can move forward and backward, left and right. And then on your right hand thumbstick, you can move up and down and ratchet to the left and to the right. In editor space, you can fly anywhere you want to. You're not constrained by the usual walkable areas that avatars have. This is useful because you may need to move somewhere where an avatar would not normally go when you're creating content for your lessons. Okay, now that we've mastered moving around inside editor space, let's open up the editor panel and start making some content. To summon the editor panel, you press both of your side switches at once. Here we go, and the editor panel will pop up in front of you. You can pick up the editor panel by using your left trigger button on the top left of the panel, and you can move it to any way that you feel comfortable. On the bottom right-hand side, you can resize your work area to allow you to have a larger work area. Okay, let's have a look at the different buttons we have here. In the center, we have a standard play controls that you'll be familiar with. Here we have the option to access the main menu, and this controls the interaction mode. By default, if you're in VR, the interaction mode will be set to tablet, and in that way it behaves just like a tablet controls. You can just tap any of the controls that you need. And then as we get over here, we have the detailed tools and content loading controls. The first 6 buttons we have here cover the most common types of content that we have in Engage. So let's try loading up an object. I'm going to choose IFX, and you'll see that the main panel disappears and the IFX menu will open. Let's see. Okay, let's choose a cow. She's a little out of place, but why not? You simply put the cow where you want it to be, and once you've placed the cow, your editor panel will return. Now you can see that the cow has appeared on our timeline, but it's rather zoomed out. So let's try zooming in and getting a closer look at the cow IFX. To zoom on the timeline, you can use the plus and minus here. You can tap it, like so, one at a time. Or if you want to go quicker, you can press and hold to continuously zoom. Okay, there we are. Now, let's play our scene and see what happens. So there we go. Not much happening really. The cow's been placed in the scene. But let's pretend that we don't want the cow to be there for the full 30 seconds. Let's make it a bit shorter. All you do is select your IFX by tapping it. Grab the control handle, and then we can resize the duration that the cow appears. And there you can see, it's already disappeared. So I'm going to jump back to the very start, and I'm going to play my scene. There we go, up onto the 5-second mark, and then the cow disappears. Okay, let's make something else appear after the cow disappears at the 5-second mark. So we can tap there to move the timeline back. And the timeline works like a cursor. So if we want to add a new IFX, it will appear at the time that we have the timeline. So at the moment, we're at the 5-second mark. So let's try adding in another IFX. This time I'll choose something different. How about a hippo? I'm going to put down the hippo. There we go. And now you can see at the 5-second mark, the cow will disappear and the hippo will appear. So I'm going to jump back to the very start of the scene. And I'm just going to actually select my hippo. And I'm going to drag him a little bit left. There we go. So there's going to be a little overlap now. And I'm going to press play. So here we go. Cow, cow, cow. And then hippo appears and the cow disappears. So there you go. That's a very simple way to introduce some content, and you can retime it and edit it. Of course, we can select the object and slide it up and down the timeline, or we can resize it by grabbing the handles, and that will change the duration that the object will remain in the scene. Let's say that we're happy with our scene and we want to save the content. I think that's a good place to leave the basic control system. Okay, to save the scene, we need to go to the Scene Info panel. So we'll just click Scene Info. And here we have all the information that Engage needs to save your lesson. So let's give it a title. This is the title that will appear to the public when your lesson is hosted on the Engage platform. So I'm going to call my lesson Hippo. And I'm going to give it a file name. So Hippo 01. The timer length is the duration of the scene. And at the moment, you can see our scene is 5 minutes long. Probably we don't need it that long, so let's make it a bit shorter. I'm going to select the timer length, click on the minutes, and change it to 1 minute, and then submit. And you can see our scene has now been shortened to 1 minute. The location is the high-rise loft, and if you wanted to put in a helpful description, you could select this and type in your description. A hippo appears. There we go. And now let's save our lesson. So we get a message telling us that we've successfully saved. Let's continue. Now, we could exit the editor now and go to the main Engage and load the content locally to have a look at our content. But actually, I think we should try and go back to the timeline. The way to go back to the timeline is to select the timeline editor panel, and you'll be sent back here. At any time, if you want to get back to the menu, you simply select Menu again, and it'll bring up the menu. That way you can jump back and forth with the information. So I'm going to go back to the timeline. Okay, let's add one more thing. So we added some nice objects, but IFX has many different kinds of things in there. We also have audio. So let's have a look in the audio section. So I clicked on the IFX button, and I'm going to change the category to audio. Let's see. Okay, let's make it a rainy day. And here we are. All right, and I'm going to drag my rain down. There we go. So let's jump back to the very start. So we should have a nice rain sound effect and a hippo and a cow. Okay, my masterpiece is finished. I'm going to go back to the Scene Info panel. I'm going to save the lesson, and I'm going to overwrite the file. And I think we're going to leave it there for the Quick Start guide. Thank you very much. Goodbye now.